The Rise of the Demon on Lake Michigan. It was 6 June 1998 in Manhattan. I was going to my office in my class Mercedes while recalling about my dreadful past, when suddenly I felt the world around me fade and disappear. I was totally perplexed. I could only hear voices calling my name. Then, one tall guy with a charming appearance put a hand on my shoulder and said, "Hey George, rise and shine, buddy. We have reached Lake Michigan. What have you been up to in your dreams?" I smiled uncomfortably and said, "What? Who are you? Where am I?" He continued saying, "Whoa, dude, you surely chugged a lot last night at the party. Don't you remember? It was your idea to go to Lake Michigan to celebrate Halloween's Eve. See, Leo also is here." Then I started to familiarize my surroundings. I slowly recalled everything. The tall guy was none other than James, my high school best friend, and Leo was the name of his dog. Lake Michigan was situated in the most desolate part of Manhattan. No one preferred to go there despite its exceptional beauty. After getting there, we noticed that the lake was beautifully lit by the full moon. So we set up a camp and started to enjoy ourselves. In the first place, we did some boating, and then we thought of playing football. And while we were playing football, something happened. James accidentally kicked the ball in the bushes, and Leo, in an instant, went to look for the ball. We waited for a while, but we couldn't see any signs of Leo. We started to get really worried and moved on to check out. We looked in the bushes in the woods near the lake, but we couldn't find him. It was getting dark. Dark clouds started to appear and the fog rolled over the lake. In the middle of all this happening, Leo was nowhere to be seen. We saw someone coming through the fog. We hoped it was Leo. And indeed, it was him. So James rushed towards him and gave him a hug. But Leo stood there motionless, lacking any enthusiasm. I knew something was wrong, but soon we forgot about it and thought of exploring the nearby hill. Everything was going fine, but little did I realize that we were on the same hill where lies the most haunted house in the whole of America. Recently, 2 people went there but never returned. The next day, their dead bodies with their heads chopped off were found floating on the lake. And also a message was engraved on their hands. The message read, "On the night of Hallows Eve, I shall return and the evil shall rise again." I was wondering what would happen now. I started to have goosebumps and my knees started to tremble. Fear made me terror-stricken. But noticing me afraid, James burst out laughing. I was totally flabbergasted by his approach. He said, let's go up and explore how haunted this haunted house is." I warned him. I said, "No mate, don't go there. It's not safe." But he didn't listen to me and went on up there. I had to follow him because he was my friend. We reached the haunted house. The nameplate of the house read, "The Haunted House of the Brentwood Manor." There were bats all around making mysterious noises as if they were singing our death song. The fog covered the house with such a heaviness that it was almost impossible to look past it. I was completely gripped with fear. Droplets of sweat started to flow down my forehead. James took a step forward and pushed the gate of the entrance. The door was rusty and creaked on its hinges. And I was there behind him like a 5-year-old kid hiding behind his dad. As we reached the house, we noticed that there was an ominous silence in the house. The house was covered with an acrid stench of dead rats feeding on corpses, and there were stains of crimson blood everywhere. It seemed as if we were in a graveyard. So James and I started to investigate. At first, we found a broken glass. And many people consider broken glass as an omen of bad luck. So for the first time, James was also afraid. But in the midst of various sounds, we could hear the sound of water dripping by. So we went in the first room, the second, the third one. And in the third one, we saw something shocking. Leo was dead, and it was his blood that was dripping. We could hear someone coming to the room. We could hear his voice closer, closer, and closer. It was Leo. I was surprised, but before that, my eyes went on the wall. They said, "Dogs are not the only creatures who lick." And Leo, in an instant, transformed into a demon. His eyes burned like embers in flame. He gnashed his teeth. He stared at James as if he was going to kill him. James tried to pick up the knife, but before he could do it, all that could be heard was James' piercing shriek. His bones were audibly shattered by the wicked creatures, and blood spurted out of his body. And while that demon was busy sucking blood out of James, I managed to pick up the knife and stabbed him on his back, on his neck, and on his shoulder, and managed to escape. I was wondering, where was he? Was he dead? Please, God, help your son, I repeated again and again. And without even looking back at James, I ran, and just ran to save myself. And the world around me again started to diminish once again. And suddenly someone said, "Sir, we have reached the destination." He was none other than my driver. I realized that I had a flashback. But today also, memories of James haunt me every day. I find myself guilty for what happened to him. Today, I might have become one of the most successful businessmen of America, but neither James nor I can forget myself for what happened.